Hey guys, so check this out. This is my Sage Barista Pro, or the Breville Barista Pro, and the issue I had was essentially my steam pressure was low. The water output was very weak, so it's fixed now, but this was basically just drooping down to this kind of level, and it had half the volume of water, and also the coffee was terrible. Essentially, in my eyes, it was under extracted. Basically, it was coming out with no crema, and to me, the same issue was prevalent across all three forms of hot water. So between the steam, the spout output, and then the group head itself. So, but the telltale straight away was a weak water output and then terrible coffee. So they were the main symptoms that I had. So I cracked open the whole thing and I watched lots of other people's videos online, and nobody else seemed to have this issue. Well, there's all kinds of various issues. There's reasons why they don't work. Some people were saying essentially the actual heater itself gets blocked. You can reverse both of these lines just to see if you have water throughput, because this is, I think that's the inlet and then that's the outlet. So you can reverse the two of them, and if you've got water coming through it, then it's not blocked. So that was the situation that I had. And another symptom I had was my pump was extremely loud. So when I was getting my terrible coffee, and even when the extraction ended, the pump was extremely loud. Anyway, I'm rambling. The issue I had, let me just turn it off, was a single coffee ground. Now I have no idea how it got in there, but all the way down inside, I don't actually use the included filter because I use filtered water, but the mesh is there, so I've no idea how it got through. But anyway, a tiny little shard of coffee, essentially, you know, like a very small piece of shell, something like this, somehow got its way down through here and then came down the water pipeline. And I just want to make sure this is powered off. Let me see if I can disconnect this just to get it out of the way. That should stop. Essentially, this line here, so the inlet line into the water wheel, essentially. So you've got the small magnetized piece that spins. It was sitting just in here, so it's definitely worth checking on your machine. Right down inside that spout, there was a tiny coffee shard, just a little piece of shell stuck in there. Now I couldn't believe it. I just picked it out and I was like, that couldn't possibly be it. So I still started taking apart all my different connections and all the elbows, and I even had a look at the solenoids, couldn't see any issues at all. And then I was like, let me just try this. So I put it back together, and sure enough, everything's absolutely perfect. So let's plug it back in again, power it up. It's asked me to fill the tank. And now everything's back to normal. And I was getting a lot of steam from this group head as well, so it should produce a bit of steam. Then after that, it should basically just turn into like a shower, just like that, a very uniform shower. And then in terms of the water, you should have a spout that's pretty strong like that, with a decent amount of flow. And then the steam should be nice and strong as well. Yeah, all it was, one single coffee grind stuck in the water inlet. So definitely worth checking out. If you're like me, you probably have a personality where you want to take everything apart and, you know, you just assume it's something more complicated. But in my case, that's all it was. So definitely worth checking out. And silly me, I just realized how it probably happened. When the reservoir is removed, the inlet is completely exposed. So it's really quite important. Even there, while I was just cleaning the top of this, I just realized if you're cleaning this or you're doing anything on top and you've got the reservoir removed, a small shard can actually fall down inside, no problem at all. So small bit of dust or dirt or coffee granules or old coffee husks, anything can fall off. and fall down there. And those pipes have such a tiny, tiny inner diameter. Some of them are, it's basically as small as a millimeter, maybe a millimeter and a half. So it doesn't take much at all to block up the machine.